What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, me going over every single unit in Grand Cross and their best gear set that you want to run on that character. So I'm basically going to scroll through my entire box here and let you guys know if it should be HP defense, attack crit damage, attack defense, HP crit, whatever the case. And also give you guys, like, setups that are, like, special for that character depending on who it is. So like Tarmiel's triple defense, Valenti triple defense sometimes. You get the gist. Okay, so we're gonna go through my entire box and give you guys the gear set. Before we actually hop into the video though, comment below what your favorite gear set is. To be honest, like, do you rather run HP defense? Do you rather run attack crit damage? Do you rather run like attack defense, HP crit? Let me know in the comment section below. Comment below and I'll definitely make sure to heart your comments. First things first, Melascula. So red Melascula, definitely HP defense, okay? Easy, obviously red Melascula HP defense. She's a tank. Her job is to be supporting. She's there to keep the revive for the team. She's an HP defense. Blue Melascula, you can run attack crit damage or like attack defense. Because if you're using her, I'm assuming you're going for damage. I mean, you can slap HP defense on her because HP defense, like, generally can just work for anyone. But I would say if you're using her for what she's used for, which is damage, I would assume, then you would want to go attack crit damage, attack defense. Sigurd is a kind of a toss-up. It depends on how you use him. If you use him as your main DPS, attack crit damage. If you're using him as a support, HP defense. If you're using him as a support and you're trying to support another unit like a Salmo Meliodas, then definitely HP defense. If you're running him on a team where, like, you're on like the crit team and you want him to do damage, then you got to bring attack crit damage. For Purgatory Bond, HP crit damage or HP defense. The only really builds you can give him, because she scales off of HP, so there's no point in running an attack set for Purgatory Bond. Easy. Arthur, HP defense, always. Never run an attack set on Excalibur Arthur here. He's meant to support Purgatory Bond, so HP defense. Chandler, HP defense. He is a taunt unit, so you want him to, live longer. If he's going to be countering the like enemies' attacks, you want him to be tanky, so HP defense only makes sense. Festival Zeldris, you want to run him HP defense, and the reason for running Festival Zeldris HP defense is because he is a support type unit. You have the dissolve here. He does have damage with his first skill, but generally you're using him for his dissolve and for his passive. I think those are the main two things you use Festival Zeldris for. Ram, you want to run HP defense because, if you're running her on the team, she's there to support your team as well with their passive. Also, I mean, generally, if you're going to be using her, she's like, she's stunning, she's doing AoE rupture. She's definitely an HP defense support type unit. Rem is going to be a DPS unit because she has a amplified card and her passive skills off of giving her attack related stats. So you want to run attack crit damage on Rem. Amelia is going to be HP defense, especially when you're using her as like a support type unit for the freeze and the dissolve. If you're using her for her damage with her ultimate, I would still say HP defense. Depends on the dupe level, obviously. If you have high dupes, HP defense is fine. You can run attack defense if you think your dupe levels is kind of low to kind of compensate. But if you have high dupes on Amelia, definitely HP defense. Or if you're trying to use her as a support, HP defense. If you have her low dupes and you want to try and do as much damage as possible on the ultimate, attack defense. Festival Merlin, you want to run attack crit damage, and the reason for that is because she's literally a DPS unit. She also has support in her passive, right, or she's able to tank, and she also has infect. But if you want to do as much damage with her, definitely attack crit damage. We have Green Liz, so the red hair Liz, you want to run her HP defense. I've seen attack crit damage sets for her in Belmos though, so if you want to do like some crazy damage, you don't have to make her UR gear, by the way. Just slap an HP or attack crit damage on her for Belmos and she'll do fine. Every other content in the game though, definitely HP defense, if you ever plan on using her, because she's kind of there to be a support type unit. Even in Belmos, I'd say like generally HP defense, but if you want to do a lot of damage, attack crit damage, it's not too bad. Alright, Assault Mode Meliodas, there's two options you can run with him depending on your dupe level. Low dupes, you want to run attack crit damage. High dupes, I would say HP crit damage. You can kind of run like either or. And sometimes I even like to run attack crit damage at 6 out of 6 just to see the big PP numbers. Like, it doesn't really matter what you run on Assault Mode Meliodas. You can run him HP defense, you can run him attack crit damage, you can run attack defense, HP crit damage, or I don't know if I said that. Attack crit damage, I don't know. Okay, anyway, you basically run him any set. right? You can basically run him any set. So Assault Meliodas, he's kind of fine with whatever, but it always depends on the dupe level. Like if you have high dupes, you can kind of compensate by running HP crit, because you know you're already doing so much damage that you don't really need it. But if you want your cards to do a lot, then you definitely want to run attack crit damage. But generally, you could just run basically anything with Assault Meliodas. It all works out pretty fine. We have the one Escanor here. He's gonna be attack crit damage. You could also run him like, you know, HP defense for Link, but generally attack crit damage because the one's a DPS. Red Lilia, HP defense. She is a support type unit here with her passive. She's kind of, you know, trying to apply corrosion on the enemy, and you know, stop their gauge from filling. So HP defense. We have Festival King. Festival King, you can run HP defense or attack crit damage. I've seen a lot of HP defense just because of like how powerful his ultimate can be at high dupes. If you have low dupes, then definitely attack crit damage. It all depends on like the dupe level. Generally with a festival type, festival, you know, like this. So yeah, HP defense, like like a high dupes, you can even run an HP crit. That works fine as well. Like generally, if you have a high dupe festival unit, you could probably just run HP crit as well. Like you don't even need to run HP defense. HP crit works as well. Sariel, I'd say attack crit damage. He's a DPS unit. If you're running him as Link, attack defense is the most optimal, because I assume you're running him on a DPS unit. So if you want him to have the most stats, attack defense as Link, attack crit damage in use. Ludociel is going to be HP defense easily, because you want him to out-CC the opponent. There's like very rare scenarios where you would run him attack defense, because if you run him attack defense, he's going to get out-CC'd by most people running HP defense. So regardless of the dupe level, HP defense on Ludociel. Goddess Elizabeth, HP defense. She is a support type unit. She has a shield, stun, and her ultimate is a reflect heal. She's meant to live as long as possible to get those like abilities off, and she has revive. So she is definitely HP defense. Roxy, she's gonna be attack crit damage. She is a DPS unit. She has, you know, first skill does damage, also cancel stances, AoE charge, and she's also increasing her attack related stats based on the humans on her team. So definitely attack crit damage. Let's see here. We got Red Easton, HP defense. She is a support type unit. She has cleanse, and she also has gauge reduction. She's also giving you damage reduction for the team. So HP defense support unit. Death Fears, HP defense. I don't even need to go over him. You run him in the backline, HP defense. Red Zeldris, HP defense. And I'm gonna say this for like most of the Zeldris is actually HP defense. Just because you want him to be as high CC as possible, because he's a support type unit as well. You know, gauge reduction, buffing commandments, HP defense easily. Derriere, green Derriere. Depending on what you do, what content you do, Belmos definitely attack crit damage. Well, it doesn't really matter. Like attack defense works as well. But generally, I think with her, you could just run HP defense. She's a support as well with her passive, like to nullify, not nullify, but the enemies can't fill their ultimate move gauge by moving skills. So that's kind of like a support type passive. So you could run her HP defense so you could live longer. Droll is definitely HP defense. Green Escanor, I don't even, what would you run on Green Escanor? As a Link, definitely attack defense, because you're running him for damage. If you run him HP defense, that's not bad as well. I think generally though, if you're going to run Green Escanor ever, which I don't think you should, but if you ever run Green Escanor, attack defense, I guess, because you want him to tank. His crit damage isn't anything too crazy, so you don't really need it. We'll skip over SR units. I don't think we need to go over them. We'll do only SSR. Reggie Meliodas, attack crit damage. It's just a given. He's you know, DPS, meant to do damage. Lost Vein Meliodas, depending on your dupe level, as I said before with the other festivals, HP crit damage, HP defense, high dupe level, low dupe level, attack crit damage, attack defense. You guys get the gist, right? Let's see here. Red Jericho, attack crit damage. You can also run her like support and run HP defense, because she has a freeze, so not too bad with that. You could kind of run that. With Green Jericho, definitely attack crit damage no matter what, or even like triple crit damage actually kind of works on her as well. Because when she does build her crit up enough where she's guaranteed critting, then triple crit damage actually is the best one. But that depends on the content. Next character we have is Red Gila, HP defense or attack defense as a Link for Jericho. So HP defense regardless, attack defense as Link on Jericho. Green Gowther, HP defense, but I've seen attack defense sets actually work. Shout out to Sora, he actually runs attack defense Gowther, and he stands that attack defense Green Gowther is like the best thing in the world. So, you know, that's an option, but HP defense generally for Gowthers, just because they're support type units, they have rank up and they have, you know, dissolve or whatever the case. They also have gauge reduction on their ultimate, and they're buffing the team. So HP defense. Red Gowther, HP defense, same thing with Green Gowther, you know, same set. I don't think you would run attack defense on a Red Gowther though, but you know, Red Gowther HP defense. Let's find the next SSR unit we have here. We have Hendrickson right here, Demon Hendrickson, HP defense, because he is a, you know, support type unit for the Festival King team. Blue Easton, HP defense, because she's a support type unit as well, attack buffing unit. You know, she's she's getting her gauge really quick. She has an attack buff. You can run her, like, attack crit damage if you want to see big numbers, but generally, because she's supporting the team, HP defense. Esterosa, HP defense easily. Blue Derriere, HP defense. I mean, actually, with Esterosa, you could actually run attack crit damage if you want to do damage as well with your counter, but generally HP defense. Let's see. Red Derriere, attack defense, or attack crit damage for Guild Boss. If you are planning on doing a lot of damage. Triple crit damage on Guild Boss as well if you only are going for crits. Not a bad idea as well. Red Gloxinia, HP defense, he's a support type unit. Blue Lilia, HP defense. Demon Meliodas, attack defense with Pierce rolls as the top. You could also run like attack crit damage with Pierce rolls, but generally if you want him to do damage, then, you know, like, and you want him to tank as well, attack defense, because he's not going to be doing any crazy critical damage. Green Arthur, HP defense, he's a support type unit. You could also run him attack if you want him to do a lot of damage because of his passive, like, you know, supporting the team. Not a bad idea. Green Merlin, HP defense, she's a support. That's all I have to say. HP defense, Red Merlin, because she's a support as well. Freeze, you know, she has the recovery seal. Yeah, you guys kind of get the gist, you know what I mean? Depending on what the unit does, it'll be like what they kind of just do, you know what I mean? It's dependent on what they do. So, you know, Helbram, he was a DPS, but he's kind of a support at this point. It's HP defense. Hauser, HP defense. Gother, HP defense. Blue King, HP defense. Giant Diane, I think he's not a supporter, and he's probably like attack defense or attack crit damage. Let me see your crit damage. You could run attack crit damage. You could run that. It depends though. If you're running her as a DPS, then obviously like attack crit damage. If you're running her as like a support or like a tank for your team, HP defense. Blue Giant Diane, I'd say probably attack defense or HP defense. Or attack crit damage, obviously if you want to do a lot. But she's a support. She has a attack seal and rupture. Kyo's HP defense support. Tarmiel's triple defense always, because he scales off a defense. The higher the defense, the more, you know, his passive is benefited, right? Because he's going to decrease the max HP, the value of his hero's defense. He's also going to do, you know, on his grace here, he's actually going to recover HP equal to the defense of the character, right? And he's actually buffing defense, so yeah, very nice. Shin going to be attack crit damage. Mono is going to be HP defense as a support unit, attack crit damage as a DPS, depending on your set, because you could run red mono on like a king team, but you could be support there. You could also run her attack crit damage, as I said right there. Green Easton, multiple options, attack crit damage. You could also run HP defense depending on the situation. She can be a support. She could also be a DPS with her weak point. You have a lot of options with her. Blue Zeldris, attack crit damage. You could also run HP crit damage if you're going ballsy, or you could run triple crit damage if you think he's only going to crit. But generally, Blue Zeldris don't crit, so I don't really, you know, attack crit damage, attack defense, even to compensate, like, you know. But yeah, huge attack crit damage is probably the best way to go with him. But yeah. Next character, Red Esterosa. What would you run with him? Probably HP defense. I mean, you can run attack crit damage if you want to see like the big numbers with the co-destruction. If you have like a bunch of ignites on the enemy, you're running like Kyo with him, then yeah, I mean, you could try, you know, attack crit damage. But generally, HP defense should be fine. Fraudulent HP defense, he scales off of having high CC, so you could, you know, lock the CC of the opponent in PvP. HP defense. Droll HP defense easily. He's meant to be a support type unit with his gauge seal, with his, you know, buff and debuff disable. HP defense. Green Monspeed. You know, two options: HP defense, attack crit damage, depending on the set. If you're using him as a support type unit, HP defense. If you're using him as DPS, attack crit damage. Red Escanor, HP defense generally, because, you know, the Amplify does a lot, and if you were to run him on Mono Red Witch, you know, that team doesn't exist anymore. But if you were to run him on that, HP defense or attack defense works as well. Even attack crit damage works. You can kind of run anything on Red Escanor, depending on the case scenario. If you're running him Link, HP defense easily, though. Brawler Bond, or Nunchuck Bond, I should say. Attack crit damage if you're running him in Red Demon, but I don't really see people use him that much in Red Demon anyway. Definitely HP defense, any other scenario. Elizabeth Hawk, I'd say probably attack defense or HP defense, because she does have Amplify. She is like kind of a DPS, but she's also like a support type unit with the Cleanse Solidify, so depends on the set you run. Green Demon Meliodas, attack crit damage. You want to do a lot of damage with him, I'd assume. He's also kind of a support type unit with him doing like the, you know, the seal. But I think mainly if you're going to be using him, he's kind of for a DPS set. Red Arthur, HP defense. Grimoire, HP defense. Red King HP defense easily. Nunchuck Bond here, attack crit damage if you want to do a lot, but generally other than that, probably like HP defense, HP crit damage. Counter Meliodas, HP defense always, because his counter scales off of HP. Never run attack on him unless you're trying to see like the damage on his attacks. Other than that, you know, there's no really need to do that. Tank Dian, HP defense, the red one, because she's kind of just Link. That's the only thing you really use her for. Matrona Dian here, HP defense, or not Matrona Dian, Matrona, HP defense, because she's support for the Giants. Rugal, Pierce Rate rolls with attack defense or attack crit damage, depending on what you want to run. Mai attack defense or attack crit damage. Zaneri HP defense. Gallant attack defense or attack crit damage if you're running him as like a DPS amplify team. If you're running him as support for his passive, then HP defense. Tank Dian, the actual Tank Dian, HP defense or triple defense with Tarmiel Link. You know, there's multiple, you could do that too, which is an option, right? You have King here, which is attack crit damage. This King, you actually run attack crit damage because of Ray Demon if you're going to be using him in that, right? That's like the one scenario I'd see you use him in. 11 attack crit damage because she's a DPS. Nanashi HP defense. Garad HP defense if you're ever a runner. Elat HP defense. Mono attack crit damage or HP defense depending on the scenario. In final bosses where she is meant to do damage, attack crit damage. In any other scenario, probably just HP defense. Red Gallon, HP defense if you're running him as a support with his passive, but if you're running him for like DPS in like Crimson, then you know you could run attack crit damage. Helbram's definitely HP defense. Beatrice HP defense. Valenti attack crit damage, right? Will HP defense. Mike HP defense. Jim Hopper HP defense. They're all just support units, like generally, right? Oslo and Hawk HP defense, because they're basically support units. Bro, like generally, if you guys get the gist, I don't know if I should continue. But because we're kind of at 17 minutes in the video of me just saying HP defense, attack defense, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's basically it. I mean, the rest of the units, you guys kind of get the gist. If they're a support type unit, you run HP defense. If they're a DPS, you run attack crit damage. And then any other set there you can kind of mix around with. But yeah, that's basically it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as always. If you guys want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know in the comment section below. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Peace out and have a great rest of your day.